Okay, it looks like we are live and on the air, and I am here with Carol Woodliff. Carol is one of the hosts on the Creating Calm Network. Welcome, Carol.
Thanks for having me, Ann. We had a little technical, like, how do I get on to Google Hangouts, but we're all here and we're present and accounted for, so it's all good.
You know, sometimes go ahead.
I just have to warn you, my gardeners are just finishing up, and they're probably going to decide to blow right by my windows just to give us a nice send-off as we start. So I just wanted to explain, if it sounds like there's heavy construction going on, it will only be for a few more minutes. They're almost done.
and you know, really, we are real life. And
yes.
That's really a lot about your message, Carol, is doing the dance between the sacred and the human, how we balance real life with our inspired or enlightened self.
Exactly. You know, I found as I was taking my journey, when I would read the books that are beautiful, inspiring spiritual tomes and all the great living spiritual teachers, and I would read some of the books and I would be like, it really speaks to my heart and inspires me, but on my bad days, a lot of times what it ended up happening, or on my human days, or however you want to look at it, I would go, well, that's great stuff, but it doesn't really relate to what I'm living right now, and I really needed someone, basically myself, to give myself a break for not having it figured out, and stumbling and having 2 left feet sometimes in the dance with life, and waking up and going, oh, I could have done better. I could have had the V8, so to speak. So that's really been my passion, is to be real, be raw, and talk about these things that a lot of people want to look at, the spiritual side, the spiritual dance, and just say, okay, well, just love everyone, or just do this, just do it. And it's not always that easy just to do it. And I think sometimes the interesting, yummy stuff is really in the struggle, or in the dance, so to speak, as we're learning it, as opposed to the high-level teaching. And that's just where my personal story and where my mission kind of fits in.
Yeah, and you know what is so amazing? You are a shaman, you're a healer, you're an author, you're an actress, you're a dog mom, you're a nice lady, so many things all rolled into one. And that's what I'm hoping today, that we can kind of shine a light on everything that makes Carol Woodliff shine, or makes you you. One of the things, you are an author of Shifting from Scared to Sacred, and your radio show has been on that topic. I know you're getting ready to do some more shifting, but let us know about that book and that journey to get that book and that part of your life.
Yeah, From Scared to Sacred came about 6 or 7 years ago now, when the process started. And I had been working as a hypnotherapist, had pretty much let go of my acting persona for the time being, and was trying to figure out how to make my life work. I was still working a part-time job in a law firm as a paralegal. I was trying to get a business going, and life wasn't really bad, but it didn't feel like everything was clicking. And it felt like everything was so hard. Like, I was working, 25, 30 hours a week at the law firm and 30 hours a week on a practice, and just felt like I wasn't getting where I wanted to go. And in kind of what I call an inelegant cosmic tantrum, I threw my hands up to God, universe, whatever word people feel most comfortable talking about, that higher power, that thing that sort of knows what we're doing. And I said, what do you want? Because I'm so tired, and I've been working so hard, and obviously I am not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, because I don't think it would be this hard if I were. And I just got this feeling like I was supposed to meditate, but when I sat to meditate, my mind was so busy I couldn't even slow down enough to get into a real meditative state. So I got my journal out and I just started writing all my whining and all my complaining and all my questions. And then this shift happened, and I heard this voice that said, sit and be still. We have many books to write, many stories to tell, many miracles to perform, and we want to use you. So will you step aside from smallness and be with us an hour a day to take down the messages?
Mm.
And I'm not one of those people who went, oh yeah, let's do that. I was more like, you want me to do what? And I called a friend and I said, what do I do? And she goes, I guess you better write. So the process of writing the book was really almost a 4 or 5 year process where I started taking down the messages, but I'd get the messages and then I'd look at my real life. And the book is really a dance between the two. It's these beautiful channeled messages, and then what was going on in my life. And what was going on in my life at the time I was writing my book, the primary theme was my mother was dying. She was in her 80s, she was transitioning, and it was my fears about how I couldn't be there for her because I lived 1,700 miles away, working out our difficult relationship, and then everything else that was going on and trying to figure out this dance with life. Like, how do I do that? So the book came out of that.
Uh-oh. I've lost Carol. I'll tell you one thing about the book, and maybe the technology will settle down for us, because currently Carol has frozen in time, but it was a book that I was reading one night, and I don't even know if I knew Carol at that point. I was reading her book, and then it just struck me that this was a book I had to share with all of my friends. So I quickly got up and I started ordering books and sending them to my friends, and then I sent a note to Carol, and I think that's probably where I started getting to know Carol a little bit better. So it's a great book. It's called From Scared to Sacred, and her radio show is called Shifting from Scared to Sacred. But I know that Carol is going to be doing some transitioning in some of her healing work, and that's why I hope that she can get unstuck and get back to us. If one of the things I'd like you to know is that the Creating Calm Network has a new website, and you can get there with our old URL, which is www.creatingcalmnetwork.com. And when you get to the first page, you are welcomed to live broadcasting. We are now broadcasting 24/7. And the schedule is random because I want you to get acquainted with all of the different hosts. So whenever you pop in, it could be somebody different. And that's the first page. The second page is the schedule if you want to see what kind of programs we have. Then after that, you can go to each host and listen to all of their archives and find out about them. So that's one way you can get to know Carol Woodliff, is by going to the host name, pulling down Carol Woodliff, and you'll be able to see photos, bio, and all of her various programs. Now, she has disappeared, but I am thinking she will be back. So I am just going to look at my Facebook, and she says computer just died and she is rebooting. Aha. You know, one of the things I notice, a lot of our hosts do energy work, and for some reason we seem to have a lot of technical difficulties. I don't know if it's just because we're Luddites and we're technical dinosaurs. I sometimes think that we just vibrate at a higher energy, and sometimes we just blow circuits out or vibrate at a level that isn't conducive to technology. Oh, I see her. She's coming. She's coming. So I see her face. That's a good sign. It is a good sign that I now see her picture.
I don't know what happened. Spirit must have decided that we were... Now I moved my laptop all around again. My laptop just decided to shut off in the middle of the call.
It gave me quite a filibuster, and that was what's going on. One interesting thing, I did mention that we had a powerful healing session yesterday, and the odd thing about it, first of all, the beauty is I can breathe, but we won't do that here. We'll talk later. The odd thing is I drink tea now. Why do I drink?
Really?
I drank coffee. I'm a coffee drinker, and I had this urge for tea, and then this morning I had tea, and I think, well, that is weird. Maybe we did a soul transference, and I'm now a tea drinker, but...
Well, I was never whoever came in that decided you wanted tea.
But anyway, so I've been telling them a little bit about your background, and part of the background that comes into play in many ways is your work as a shaman. So if you would do that, and Carol, tip your computer screen just a little so we can get the top of your head. There you
Okay.
go. And then tell us about your work as a shaman and how that works into the dance that you're doing now.
You know, it's interesting because I think the dance with the being a shaman came in absolutely naturally, because it's about the shaman is one who walks with feet in both worlds. When I discovered that a lot of the description of the shaman is, you know, being of the earth and having this spiritual connection, it made a lot of sense to me. So it is being able to go and see, sense for other people the what's going on in their spirit life and what's going on in their energy body. And I went and studied with the Four Winds Society, which is founded by Alberto Velodo, who has been he's been studying tribes down in South America for 30 years.
Mm-hmm. You know, and we just get to the fascinating parts, and
And I
then
went down and also did the talk about being a shaman is that every shaman has their own medicine, and that each shaman has something they bring to the world. And my tools are really about releasing that old stuff, those old emotions, the stuff that sticks to us, that keeps us from living our lives. That's not who we are, but it feels like an identity almost. It's the stuff that's happened to us this lifetime, past lifetimes, in our family systems, what our ancestors have dealt with that might be in our DNA. And what I'm really doing is holding space for people to remember who they really are, who their spirit is, but holding those broken or tough parts of being human really gently,
mm-hmm.
and helping people move through them. So that's really how being a shaman has come into my life, is really realizing that the shaman isn't really afraid of the darkness. It's like there's no enemies in this world or the next, but sometimes we have to go into our darkness, or as psychology would say, into our subconscious,
Mm-hmm.
into that part of ourselves that we don't um, look at regularly, and we don't even know what's going on in there. Carl Jung said that which we don't excavate and bring out of that unknown, out of that subconscious, acts out for us as fate. And
Mm.
so for me, what I'm looking at is I'm helping people let go of that stuff that we have a lot of shame about. We hide our emotions. We sit on a big trunk of old stuff we just don't want to talk about, and we don't want to look at it. But that trunk, we're carrying it around and it affects us. So
Yeah.
on an energetic level, without really talking a lot about what's going on, we're able to release that energy and not have to relive the story. And that's really what my role is.
And that's something you do as part of the many things that make up Carol Woodliff, right? So you have
Mm-hmm.
clients who come to you either personally or like we are on the other side of the, well, no, I'm in the middle of the country now. But, you know, from Skype or different ways that you can work in healing people. So you do have a practice like that.
I do have a one-on-one practice where I work with people all around the world via technology, and sometimes, like as we saw today, technology is one of the characters in the dance of what we're doing, and I do that. I'll also teach classes and do this similar types of healing work in small groups. So
Mm-hmm.
I realize for everyone, one-on-one work isn't always cost effective. It isn't something that people can dive in and do. And there's ways to dip your toe in and start doing the work without, as big of a financial commitment. So I've come up with ways to do this work in these sort of teleclasses online, where the energy work is still possible to be done in small groups. So I also do small group work, and I'm in Los Angeles area, I do live classes too, but we're
Those,
talking
yeah,
to the greater group here who can be on the internet and know how perhaps they could be in contact.
right. And is that your healing circle, or is that something different? Because I know you've got your healing circles.
Yeah, the primary tool right now is the healing circles. I have a program called Healing Circles Online, and the idea of the circle is so prominent in the indigenous tribes, in looking at the circle of the seasons, the circle of the tribal council, the spiral of life, where I think we've all had this thing where we think we're over a certain situation and then we come around and there it is again and we're like, I thought I dealt with this. So
Mm-hmm.
the idea of the circle is to gather a small tribe of people all focused on achieving who they really are, getting past all the stuff that blocks them, and we gather to support each other, we gather energetically, and then I take them through the primary ways we need to let go, which
Mm-hmm.
is we need to let go of our stories, we need to let go of the trauma that we've experienced in this life, we need to let go, as I said, of past life trauma, and we also need to do some healing for our families and our ancestors. Because a lot of us are living in reaction to, even if we think we're doing better. Like, my mom was a certain way, so I said I'm not going to be that way, and I'm living in reaction to her rather than really fully expressing who I am. And I think that's the thing that I came to in my life. The world right now is set up for us to do labels. Like, you're a healer. And I'm a healer, writer, shaman, actor, all of those things. And I think the world needs us all right now to embrace who we really are and all those aspects of ourselves. And until we get rid of the shame and the doubt and the worry about those parts that we might be embarrassed about or that we were taught what weren't worthy of us. Like my actress self, all the messages I got when I said I wanted to pursue acting was like, you're smart, you're capable, why would you do that? Why would you go do that? And it's like, because it's a part of me that wanted to express in the world and likes doing characters and likes doing that, and I don't feel whole unless I'm doing some piece of that sort of work. It doesn't mean I have to achieve my Academy Award or anything
Right.
like that, but if I'm not doing a play or I'm not doing something particular that's letting her out, then I have a problem with how I feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's really trying to get rid of the labels and find your own authentic space, maybe yourself, or.
Yeah, I look at it, a lot of times I talk about it as going big and meaning embracing everything that we are, all the quirky aspects of ourselves, all those things we got told we're too. You're too
Mm-hmm.
quiet. You're too loud. You're too talkative. You don't talk enough. We
Mm-hmm.
all got these messages as kids or young adults, or even we still get them about how we're made is
Right.
not okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm trying to do is work with people and really see the gold in who they are, and that there's nothing to be ashamed of, and certainly there's things we want to work on, like we want to be more expressive in a certain area, or we see how our temper may
Mm-hmm.
interact and we want to be better at that. But my goal is to help people not be ashamed of who they are and be able to really kind of put their stake in the ground and say, I love who I am, I love what I'm capable of doing. And I do work with a lot of healers and a lot of performer writer types,
Right.
but it's really anybody who wants to fully be themselves.
Yeah, find their authentic self. Yeah, and I
Right.
love that more and more we're taking away limits and labels because so often the labels are the limit of the reason we can't do that. So part of your work sounds like we're getting rid of limits and labels and putting our stake in the ground and
Yeah, it's exactly that part that brings you joy. And one of the things I find for a lot of us, we're play deprived. We've gotten so serious that we think life is about all this doing and being um, serious and getting our career goals and all of that. And it's we've lost our authentic joy, our authentic expression, what we had as a child. You know, children don't, when they're first coloring, they're just looking at how the color's going on the paper, and they're so excited by that picture. And if they have a good parent, the good parent takes that scribble drawing and puts it on the refrigerator and tells them how beautiful their work is. And then somewhere along the way, there starts to be judgment of your art and my art and who's better, and we lose the authentic joy in what we're doing because we've put it into a competition.
hmm
And it doesn't mean that you have to do everything well. One of my life lessons was to learn to do some things badly.
right, yeah. Because sometimes the more mistakes we can make, the more we learn, and then the more we realize they're not mistakes. We may just have to bring this show in for landing, but you have gotten a taste, a sense of who Carol Woodliff is. You see what kind of powerful energy she has, and I just am so excited about having her as a host on the Creating Calm Network. So tune into her shows, Shifting from Scared to Sacred, and also find her webpage on, you can find her at carolwoodliff.com, but also if you go to the creatingcalmnetwork.com, you'll see her host page there. So thank you very much for tuning in, and we will be introducing you to more and more of our special hosts. I hope we do better with our energy. So take care. This is Ann White wishing you a beautiful day, just a gorgeous, beautiful day.